And if you have time, I want you to indulge with me because I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna split it up and I'm gonna splice off this segment of this and make it its own little. Let's talk about for 5 minutes if you can indulge me with
Oh,
me.
I got time. Let's do
Okay,
it.
so here's the okay now, guys. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna start right here. I knew you were probably gonna have Forrest Gump or Shawshank Redemption on your list. I think you had both. I think was one on your list and one on your honorables.
No, they were both on my list.
They were both on your list, and I thought I think you mentioned Shawshank first, and then later you put Forrest Gump as your number one.
Right.
Now, a couple of years ago, I would have did the same thing. The reason why I did not put them on my list, even though I knew they deserved to be, is I felt in my heart that you were going to have them on your list. So I was like, let me save those for honorable mentions, and I put them together. There is an ongoing debate about these two movies, about the movies that captured the 90s and was like the great one of the which one is better. And for some reason it always comes down to, and you probably haven't heard it much, it's like a little bitty kind of an argument. It always comes down to Shawshank Redemption and Forrest Gump. Which one is the better film?
Oh, man.
I think you think that well, based on your list, I mean, I know you said they weren't in order, but you kind of had more to say about Forrest Gump than you did about Shawshank. So so I'm curious about that. What do you think overall? Which one was the better movie overall? Soundtrack, cinematography, acting, directing, everything.
I would have to still just slightly edge it out to Forrest Gump. And even if for just because, oh, man, it's Forrest Gump. There's just so much to it. The soundtrack, I still have that soundtrack. It's like a double CD. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Tom Hanks
spooked a lot. It was
yeah.
a lot.
Tom Hanks just owns this.
I can't remember, but do you know the person who was originally supposed to play Forrest Gump? Because it wasn't Tom Hanks at first.
No, I didn't know who.
I don't know. I don't know either. I want to say, for some reason, I want to say Tom Cruise.
Oh God!
Would have been a total different movie. Like,
that would have been funny seeing Tom Cruise play somebody retarded.
Probably could, maybe was it? I don't know why, but I want to say Tom Cruise. But I want to say that I'm almost certain that it wasn't supposed to be Tom Hanks, and it would have been a way different movie. I'm probably wrong about the Tom Cruise thing, but I used to be on that bandwagon about Forrest Gump. I love Forrest Gump. I love It's Gump. It's Gump. He's in my head. The song that Weird Al did about Forrest Gump. All those spoofs. Mad TV, when that was still on the air, they had the funniest.
Jenny Forrest Humps.
No, it was another one that they did. It was like a TV spot for Mad TV when the guy was trying to offer. He was sitting on the bench. He tries to offer his guy some chocolate. He's like, "Would you like a chocolate?" And the guy ignores him. He's like, "Excuse me, sir. I was talking to you." He's like, "Look, I'm diabetic. I don't want any of your damn chocolates. What are you, stupid or something?" And then he just puts the chocolate down and he opens the chocolate box and it starts glowing. What this scene was a mix between Pulp Fiction and Gump Fiction. He goes, "My mom always said that life is like a box of chocolates. When you open up that box of chocolates," which he did, and it starts glowing. He said, when you open up that box of chocolates and you see somebody's already taken a bite out of the best ones, well, that's when I get my 45 and blow the brains out." That was awesome. But so I was always about Forrest Gump back then.
Look up Forrest Humps.
I gotta look that up. I don't think I've ever seen Forrest.
He was like sitting on a bench, and I think Jenny starts like humping his leg, and she's like a prostitute, and he's like, "Jenny, what are you doing?"
I think I ruined your roommate's sheets. Oh man, I didn't get that joke.
You ever been with a girl, Forrest? He's like, "I sit next to him in my home economics class."
Everything was so innocent. This dude invented the phrase, "Have a nice day."
And shit happens. It happens. You just stepped in a huge pile of shit.
He was the guy. It happens. Shit sometimes, but this movie pretty much said that Forrest Gump inadvertently created all of the pop culture things that we've known and loved today. That was, I mean, even Apple.
Yeah. What do you say? Lieutenant Dan got us invested in some kind of fruit company.
Yeah, we didn't have to worry about money anymore. He's like one of the shareholders of Apple Computers and doesn't even know it. This guy has like Scrooge McDuck money, and the money that he could be swimming is right next door, and he thinks it's a Walmart or something. I mean, this dude has so much money. But now I'm gonna start giving the edge. I have to give the edge a little bit to just by a little bit to Shawshank. And the reason why is because, okay, so like everybody feels like everybody's seen Forrest Gump. Everybody's seen Shawshank. Both of those movies are quotable. I think Forrest Gump back then, closer to when it was released, was more quotable then because it was fresh and people would like love to make fun of it and love to talk like Forrest and all that. But throughout the test of time, to when we get closer to today, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I've noticed that when people are quoting old movies, especially because of the popularity, the new popularity of Morgan Freeman, just because of his voice.
Larry Dufresne. What is that? Andy Dufresne.
I feel like Shawshank is now starting to be quoted more than Forrest Gump was. I mean, then it was heavily quoted. Today, people are always trying to find a new way to get a Morgan Freeman quote out there, and Shawshank is usually one of the first movies that they go to.
Can you quote when Andy came into the prison and Red was talking about him?
It was a young punk. That young punk line that he gave.
He's all like, Andy Dufresne. There was just something about him, the way he walked. He's just like, I could tell. I like this man, or something like that. But he was.
If I close my eyes, I swear Morgan Freeman's right there in the room. Yeah. But I feel like that Shawshank is one of those movies where if it pops up on TV, you got to watch it. And Forrest Gump is like that too. But if you've noticed, I don't know if you watch as much TV as I do, or when I had a cable. I don't watch that much TV now because everything can be watched online. But when you go to like an old channel like a TBS or anything, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna have an old repeat of Shawshank for some reason more than Forrest Gump. Like I said before, closer to when Forrest Gump was released, heavily syndicated, heavily repeated. 25 years later, Shawshank is getting more play and everything. I think in 50 to 100 years, when it's all said and done, when you look back, I think people are or film fans or film critics who were like studying movies from the 90s and all that, I think Shawshank is gonna rise up in popularity and surpass Forrest Gump, because I think Forrest Gump kind of like how heavily it was spoofed and how heavily it was repeated, it kind of like became uncool to quote it. It's almost like Show Me the Money. It's like it got, all right, that was fine when it's day and it made all the wars that it made. It was great. But today it's like, it's a joke. But Shawshank, you can still like go back and be like, damn, he crawled through all that shit.
He crawled through 500 yards of human waste.
Exactly. I mean, that movie is I don't know what it is about that movie. It's a special film. The cast was awesome. For them not to win, I think like you said, they lost to Shakespeare in Love, right? That was a tragedy because I'm sure that the Academy wishes they could have that one back, because nobody's watching Shakespeare in Love right now today. I mean, there's probably thousands of people right this very second watching Shawshank Redemption. But except Gwyneth Paltrow, she's probably watching Shakespeare in Love. Right? I was awesome, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to give it to Shawshank. So we're gonna be split on that one, but just by a hair.
I think they're both very good movies. I think that Shawshank is kind of it's a very serious movie. It's not for young people to watch. I mean, there's several rape scenes and beat scenes, and I think I'll never forget that scene when Andy gets processed into the jail, and you're watching them walk down the cell block, and they're like, the first night is always the hardest. You can hear Morgan Freeman talking about, and they see this fat guy, and he's like holding on the bars, like, like looking out, and you can hear fresh fish, and you can hear him saying the fish, and he's like,
oh my God, is that where they got that from? Half Baked?
Yeah, they were because Morgan Freeman, Red, was betting they always have these bets on the one guy that's going to break the first night, and he bet that Andy Dufresne was going to break the first night, and
like break like how and kill himself or just
like he would just freak out, and they would have to he would just break, and he lost a bet on Andy, and that's how they kind of became friends.
Yeah, but that twist in the end with the warden and everything but again, Forrest Gump. I mean, that movie was also special, man, because the I don't know, you had one man, you had Forrest Gump with all these awesome. Both films had like a great roster. I mean, like an all-star roster of actors. And the
Gary Sinise is phenomenal in Forrest Gump, man.
Lieutenant Dan. And who played his mom?
Sally Fields.
Aunt May, Sally Fields. I love Sally Fields. If you go back and see my Aunt May video, you'll see I love Sally Fields.
Haley Joel Osment was even in this.
Which character?
Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense. That was his first movie. He played Forrest's son.
Oh yeah, the kid. Oh yeah.
They're all watching the TV and they go.
He leaned his head to the side. Yeah. He's like, is he?
Yeah, when she tells him he's your son, I named him after his daddy. He's like, is he?
What's his dad's name? Forrest. Oh, that's my name. That whole moment where he didn't get it until, and you knew why he didn't get it.
Do you remember what he said when he found out?
He's like, "Well, just like my name." He asked if he was smart. All right.
Yeah, but the way he did it, he kind of steps back and puts his hand on his hip. Is he like smart?
He's very smart, and she knew what he was trying to say and everything. Yeah. Like, he's very smart. And that was another cool thing about how Tom portrayed that character, or how that character was written, is because Forrest was comfortable with himself in his own skin. But he knew that he wasn't, mentally on par with everyone else, and he was aware of it. He was just okay with it, and he just enjoyed, living his life. But the second, and then I didn't realize until that scene that he was because he was picked on as a kid. He kind of like brushed it off. He didn't like it, but he never. Yeah, exactly. He didn't hold on to any anger. And he would have been justified to beat up a lot of people.
He did. He beat some ass on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, to protect Jenny. Oh yeah, he could. Yeah. He wouldn't want to mess with Forrest. But
so what did you see the Black Panther Party?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry that I wrote into Black Panther Party. And I'm sure thanks to Forrest Gump, they came up with the name. I'm sure they were just the Black Panthers until Forrest Gump came in and called it the Black Panther Party. And I'm sure that day forward they were the Black Panther Party. But since he was inventing everything else.
Did you see his face? When he's like trying to listen to the Black Panther guy, but then he's got Jenny and this dude in the background. As soon as that slap, you just see him.
That was it. Yeah, he turned into a straight up killer. Yeah, but back to for that last scene. No matter how comfortable he was with himself, the second he realized he brought a life into this world, he thought about all the things that happened to him at that age, and he was worried. He was immediately afraid for this kid. Like, oh my God, if he's just like me, then he's going to go through all of that crap. And Jenny told him that no, that's not. You don't have to worry about that.
Smartest kids in his class.
Very popular and all that. And it was not. And it wasn't like they said it as if it's a bad thing. I mean, she no matter how the kid would have turned out, she been her kid. She would have loved it. They loved him and everything, and whatnot. But I think it made Forrest a little happy to know that that he wouldn't have, that his son didn't have to go through the same struggles that he went through. But that was a cool moment in that movie. Besides all the other great moments, like Lieutenant Dan ice cream and all that.
Ice cream, Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan was awesome, and he still gets called. And that actor, he loves the military. He always goes out and he does shows for the military. And
he's in a band. The Lieutenant Dan band. Yeah. The Lieutenant Dan band.
Yeah, you say Lieutenant Dan, he answers. He goes by that name now. That's not his official name. I'm sure he preferred to be called his real name, but whenever a soldier or a fan calls him Lieutenant Dan, he loves it, especially when it's a soldier. I think he was unquoted for saying that, especially when it's a soldier. He's like, I'm not really a lieutenant. Like some soldiers, like they grew up seeing him as Lieutenant Dan. So it's almost like they saluting him like as if he was really in the military.
Do you remember when Forrest bought the shrimp boat and Lieutenant Dan came and visited him on the dock? And you see Forrest behind the wheel, and he's just like, And
Oh yeah, and he jumps into the water. Like, dude, did the boat crash or something?
You see the boat smash into the pier in the background. He's like, "That's my boat."
Yeah, that's my boat.
Do that again. What are you doing here? He said, I said if you became a shrimp boat captain, I'd be your first mate, and I'm a man of my word.
That movie had a lot. That movie had a lot of honor in it, and whatnot. But for some reason, I just think that in the end, I think that Shawshank Redemption is going to be looked at as a overall, when you add up everything as far as quality. It is more for adults. I mean, Forrest Gump, even though it all isn't for anything for kids, it's not really a kid movie, but it is more friendly for families.
More kid friendly.
It's more family friendly, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like I think it's the power of Morgan Freeman's voice imagine Forrest Gump narrated by Morgan Freeman. That would have been a way different movie, right?
Yeah.
Forrest was a young lad. His legs didn't work too good, but
he had some magic shoes.
It used to be that Forrest would run to get where he was going, but he never thought it would take him anywhere. But it was almost as if Tom Hanks was almost doing a Morgan Freeman.
What the hell did he say? I ran all the way to the end of Greenbow County, and I figured might as well keep on running.
Yeah. World Peace. Are you woman from Rivers? I just felt like running. And he's like, and he repeats that to the lady. I just felt like running.
Yeah. All those people are following him, and he stops in the middle of the road, turns around,
and just shatters their dreams.
Think I'll go home now. And they're all like, "What are we gonna do?"
Can you imagine that? It was almost like a presidential run. Imagine Obama with hope and change, and then right at 2007, he's about to win. And I'm pretty tired. I think I'm gonna go home now, and just doesn't become president. My John McCain
drops the mic.
He just drops it. I'm leaving. I mean, that's exactly what Forrest did to those people. It was awesome. Yeah. That movie was still So it's probably gonna go back and forth. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because it's heavily debated.
It's real difficult, man, because there's so many good moments in both of those movies. Like I remember vividly when the librarian, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy with the bird, he gets paroled, and he
kills himself, right?
Yeah, like he initially pulls a weapon on somebody because he doesn't want to leave because what did Morgan Freeman say?
He was institutionalized.
Institutionalized, like he didn't know how to live on the outside. And they sent him out, and he goes and work. And if you notice, every single person who gets paroled goes to the same grocery store.
Same grocery store, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember him narrating that part, and he's like, "I'm not sure I like it here. I think I'll leave." And like he just carves it up in the boards. Red was here, or whatever his name was, and he just kills himself. He hung himself.
Yeah, that was. And then you thought that Morgan was going to do the same thing, and that was like it was freaking me out. I'm like, come on, man, what is it with that store that makes people want to
same room, same work?
And how messed up was that? Not only that you know it for a fact that a friend of yours got into that same. Oh man. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that always gets me. And again, it's probably the power of his voice, but the scene where Morgan Freeman is up for parole again, and he just gives up on it. After all those years of being rejected, I mean, you got to think about like what that character is probably really thinking. I murdered somebody back in the day. We're talking about the year is what, 1940, 1950 something.
He was in there for 50 years.
Yeah. And we're talking about, this is before the Civil Rights Act and all this other stuff. And we're talking about this character's thinking these guys are never going to let me out.
What did the guy say to him? He says, "Do you feel like you've been rehabilitated?"
He goes on that
that's just a word.
Yeah. I said, "What would you?" I said, "If I was ever go back in time and meet myself as a young man, I would. I try to talk some sense. Yeah, if I'd sit down and talk to him, I try to talk some sense into him, and all that stuff." And
now you go ahead and do what you're gonna do, because frankly, I don't give a goddamn. Like he said something like that.
I'm sure, and you know what? And I'm sure it was the honesty, because I'm sure those guys that has to be one of the toughest jobs, because you're almost playing God. I mean, you know that these guys have been prepping and they've been practicing. They got a suit on. They're gonna try to impress you. You're gonna feel the insincerity in their voice. Like, I'm gonna go and be a good model citizen. From I learned my lesson, and then they just still hit that stamp. I wonder how many times the person, if they would have gave them a chance, they really would have changed their lives and made something of themselves. But because of that last final denial that got stamped, they decided to turn further into the dark side and give up and whatnot. So
well, he was denied parole, I think something like 8-10 times.
yeah. And it doesn't come around every week. I mean, they said it comes. It takes a long time.
I think he was in there between 35 and 50 years or something like that. I mean, just a lifetime.
Yeah, and after a certain age, you got to think that that they would be like, okay, man, this guy, unless he was just a real monster and serving life or something, like, come on. I mean, we got to let some of these guys out. I mean, but he was up for murder, so I'm not to say what murderer should be let out, but yeah, he that was an awesome little speech, the whole rehabilitative speech and the and things like that. There was a lot of epic moments in that.
Did you know that Andy Dufresne was hiding the tool that he used to break out in the warden's safe?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In his Bible.
Yeah, he played that warden like a fiddle.
Yeah. The warden was always preaching, trying to be religious, but he was full of shit.
Because
he hid that tool in his Bible. He never opened it. He never
opened the Bible, and what did he throw it at the paper, and that's when he realized that it was fake.
Yeah.
And you know what? And here's another example of art, life imitating art and art imitating life, because that was just what happened in recent news. The guy from Mexico who escaped prison.
El Chapo.
He tunneled out through the bathroom under the toilet, his whole big ass hole, and went a mile of just digging and digging. And he pulled a Shawshank. I'm thinking the second I saw it on the news, I'm like, this guy pulled a freaking Shawshank, man. That's awesome. So, but that guy's a monster apparently. So that's not great. Yeah. but that was crazy though, man. But I don't know. I just think that I think overall, if you gave me a choice of which one to watch a repeat of, it's like a Sunday afternoon. Right? Where something's on TV, you got Shawshank on this channel, you got Forrest on that. I think I'm going to watch Shawshank. But you know what? It depends on what mood I'm in. So I guess it depends. What if I'm in a happier mood? I'm probably gonna watch the Forrest Gump.
I love. There's so many good scenes in Forrest Gump too. Like when he's in Vietnam, he's like, being in the army was easy. And he's like, they're putting the weapons together. Done, drill sergeant. And he's like, God damn it, Gump! Why did you put that gun together so fast?
You gotta give that guy credit. You gotta give that guy the whole scene. That guy was way in the back of the room, and he, Gump! Why did you put that gun together so fast?
Because he told me to, sir. And he's like, God damn it, Gump! That's the best answer I've ever heard. You are going to be a general someday. Like,
disassemble your weapon and go for and you're going to be a general someday because of how well you take orders. And people say that a lot. You can't lead if you don't know how to follow. But and I'm sure it was that's drill sergeant's encouragement that because it could have been just as easy that because of Forrest's mental capacity that guy could have been a dick to him and just would have made his life hell just to pick on him. But no, he did. Every time Gump did a great job, he encouraged it, and he
won the Medal of Honor.
Dude, how many awards did and I have to go down and get a medal.
Made the president of the United States
again. Like it was like, oh man, at this point these presidents were coming to meet me.
It's like, hey, how does it feel to be an All-American? I gotta pay. That's all he said.
He said, I heard you got wounded out there. Yeah, be on the buttocks. That must be a hell of a sight.
I'd like to see that sometime. And he's just like,
okay.
He just bends over. You remember when he gets shot in the ass? He's like, they said it was like
$1 million.
But I ain't seen a nickel of that $1 million. The Army must keep that money.
Government must keep that money because I still ain't seen a nickel of that $1 million. That dude's got a whole bunch of millions of dollars sitting over here to the left. He's looking, he's like, that $1 million must be gone.
And that fat guy, he was like, man, I've heard some whoppers in my time, but
we sitting here next to
a millionaire. And he just laughs at him. Yeah, he thinks he's laughing at him and walks away. And that lady's like, I thought it was a lovely story, and you tell it so well. And he's like, would you like to see a picture of Lieutenant Dan? And she's like, why, yes. He pulls it, and it's like a cover of Forbes. It's like he's on the cover of Forbes with the Bubba Gump shrimp can, and he's like, now we got, what is it? We got more money than Davy Crockett.
David Crockett. Yeah. He said, wait a minute, you were talking about the Bubba Gump company? Yeah, Bubba Gump Shrimp. We got more money than Davy Crockett.
Crockett's like, Man, I've heard some whoppers in my.
That movie is awesome. So yeah, you know what? I could probably go back and forth on both of those movies. Very quotable. Oh man.
Did you cry? Did it make you tear up at the end after Jenny died and he was trying to read that letter that little Forrest wrote, and then he wrote a letter to her and he's talking to the gravestone and he's like, you know, make sure he brushed his teeth, and you can hear it like his voice starts cracking. It's Tom Hanks, brilliant Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Hanks always. You know, he doesn't need. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where he phoned it in. Ever since he became super famous, and at the level of fame that he's at right now, you would think some of these actors they'll just start phoning it in. Like, yeah, put my name on it. I'll come in. I'll do a little appearance. Blah blah blah. And then but those actors always, no matter how good they are, how famous they are, they'll give a performance where it's like it's very apparent that it's that guy just pretending that being playing this character. But no, Tom Hanks in every movie I've ever seen him in, he becomes that character.
I'm Sean Malloy, and with me is Chris Fagan. We're going to go ahead and drop this thing for the night. We'll be back with, I'm not sure what. We'll come back with something, but until next time, keep going to the movies. Chris?
Oh, and as always, let's keep, when it comes to these movies, let's keep talking.